that. But
Yeah.
today, Rene, I know you have got some things to share about trauma. We're
Yeah.
here. We have been covering the ACE test for a while now, and we'll continue for a while more. We are kind of just past the halfway mark on the ACE test. People can actually go and take the test. Well, here you have the barcode to support us, to buy us a coffee if you like to. We'd really appreciate. But also we have another barcode. I don't know if we can turn it on, Rene, where you can actually scan these and go and take the test on my website. There is no commercial anything linked to it. And you can just take the test. Just take it. If you're here watching this program, it means that the word trauma echoes with you. And if you haven't taken the test, is a standard practice test in my field to see, to sort of orient ourselves around the kind of experiences, the difficult experiences you might have had in childhood that might still be affecting you today. So we are at question number 6, Rene, if I understand. If we can put
Yes,
it up so
absolutely.
that we remind ourselves what this question is. So it reads, my parent, and here's the barcode, by the way, Rene just put it up there on the corner. So go and take the test later or now if you want, or if you're just watching live, take it later. So the question goes,
Yeah.
often or very often, I felt that. Okay, so I felt that. I didn't think that or I saw that, I felt that. I didn't have enough to eat, had to wear dirty clothes, and had no one to protect me. Okay, um, yeah, quite an heavy scenario there, Renee. Huh? And then B, my
Yeah.
parents were too drunk or high to take care of me or take me to the doctor if I needed it. Okay, so the involvement of drugs in parenthood and how those drugs split the psyche of the parent in half of them being there, half of them not being there, right? Or maybe even less than that being there, and more of them not being there. And the drugs kind of make us escape into a world that is not connected to our senses. Yeah, it's a coping mechanism. Rene, what have you got for us today? What would you like to talk about?
Yeah. That's a great thing that you've just mentioned. And just to recap on something else you were able to talk about last time is that you mentioned that parents coming from a traumatic background, it caused a split in their psyche, so it facilitated them going to these drugs. You know,
Right.
for the question that why are they going to these drugs? Because there's a split in their psyche. They have their own traumatic experiences, and now they are trying to go to the drugs to facilitate this kind of numbness. They're looking for this numbness, and it takes away from their reality. That's why the children aren't able to connect. And you brought in that very apt demonstration of when you leave the screen, and now I'm calling out for my parent, I'm calling out for my father, come embrace me. Can't you see me? And I can't see you. I can't reach you because you'll be able to split not even just from your own reality, for doing your own things, trying to move around and get to handle your own kind of activities, even walking in a straight line, like we mentioned. But now you're even not able to be there as a parent. And we asked who is responsible for denying, you know, these who is responsible for this kind of effect, and of that they are alone, these children are alone. Is it the parents? Is it, their own effects of drugs? And that's a discussion we're getting to discuss on. And I have a story for that. In fact, there is one person in this that I know, I would say, uh, has been a neighbor, I would say, for the longest time. He was an alcoholic, has always been an alcoholic. Um, I would say was, but I'll get to why I say was.
Yeah, and let's be
He
careful
grew
to
up in,
maintain some anonymity here. So
yeah,
uh, maybe let's
yes,
not mention
absolutely.
specific places or affiliations. Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. Just to be respectful, actually, in this case, he really deserved that kind of respect. Thank you for reminding
Right.
me. Is that um, this individual was grew up in a very middle class. I would say, upbringing. His father worked in a quite a good job in government, and he grew up in a broken home. The parents separated, but he really lived with his father. Now his father was an alcoholic himself, and in since that growing up, he didn't get really to see his mother, but he had several mothers. We'll call him Daniel. So Daniel had several mothers, and the reason why I say mothers is because his father had a couple of mistresses coming almost every weekend.
Right.
So growing up, he knew these were his, mother figures, and his dad introduced them to his son in that manner. So growing up, he started to drink when he was around 11 is when he started to take alcohol because he wanted to connect with his father. He just had one older brother, and his brother was also in the same route. So he wanted to connect with the only parent he mainly knew, you know. So getting to connect through that indulgence of alcohol, he started to take alcohol himself. And once he started becoming an alcoholic, up until his teens and maybe early 20s, since his father was well connected, he didn't really need to go to college. So he got a job just when he became an adult around 18, 19, to be able to give certain services like, some government documents that you needed to get to for application. So that was his own way of making ends meet for himself, because he didn't really get to marry. I'll get to that. But he did find a lady in one of these establishments he goes and drinks. She was a dancer. So he got to date this lady who was a dancer, and they were able to get a child together. But because of his habits, he wasn't able to sustain that relationship or even parent. However, the lady got an opportunity to go abroad to the UK, United Kingdom, and be able to fend for herself as a career. So when she got that opportunity, she asked him, can you just come over to this side? I can get you in rehab. We can start a family and be able to provide, build this unit, because the main thing is that you're around people and you're around spaces that you're used to drinking. He
Right.
has he initially accepted the request, but every time he will accept and the lady say, okay, let me send you facilitation of the same to get your paperwork in order to come this side, she will send the funds and he will use them on alcohol. So
And so what was
this
the
happened.
situation of the child? You said they had a child together.
Yes, they had a child together.
And the child was living with the mother by this point?
Yes, yes,
So the child was also separated at some level from the father. So
yes,
this chain
exactly.
of events where the father bond, it's broken
Yeah,
every time, isn't it?
exactly. And it's quite sad that the lady in question really wanted to clean him up and get him, straight, because I think the fact that they had that relationship, she really loved him, really said that this guy can clean up and
Yes.
become a responsible partner and responsible father. And I think he just needs someone to invest in him. But every time she tried to reach out and say, okay, let me try and facilitate you to change your surrounding and be able to become the family man and enjoy this family life. If you love your child, I believe you love me, but I don't think she was sure, but she loved him enough to get him over. But every time she sent funds, he would use it on
Yeah.
alcohol.
From your life experience point of view, Rene, when you hear this story, like, so I love you enough to send you funds to prepare all the paperwork so you can join me and then come to the rehab, and you use those funds for the bottle. We talked a little bit about this last time, right? It's like
Yeah,
I, as a parent, choose the bottle or whatever drug of choice instead of spending time with my child. How is the
yeah,
child going to interpret that? At some level, they're going to wonder whether they are lovable enough, whether they've done anything wrong to not
yeah.
get the attention of the parent. Well, in your life experience, how would you empathize with this situation? Where does your empathy go? And of course, we should include in that work of empathy, I think we should include the alcoholic as well. We
This
know
situation,
already that the alcoholic is an intergenerational effect, isn't it? This child sees his father and his older brother drinking.
yes,
Children see, children do, right? Children see, children do. So just to stay part of the tribe, of the group, he's going to drink as well. And we saw with J-Man, with the interview that we had a couple of weeks ago, also he started basically drinking alcohol at the age of 9.5, almost 10, because the only
yeah,
figure of reference and attachment that he had was an alcoholic. And, you
yeah.
know, just to please him and to stay connected, he would then end up drinking. So there's a lot of compassion, I think, that we can send towards the alcoholic father. But let's try to understand the child. I think that's our goal today. What would you bring with your life experience into this situation?
What I will bring is first to empathize with the child, whereby um the child is a daughter, um and the fact that the child is seeing the mother really trying to give her the father figure that she really wants. And I can imagine being in a foreign country, because both of her parents are African, and she definitely doesn't fit in that foreign country. And the only person who will help her and facilitate in that fitting in this foreign country will be her other parent. And she must feel very rejected and feeling like her nest and her safe haven can't be safe, because number one, she was born here, but she moved with her parents there, so she knows how it
That's
feels to be in the community.
yes,
And the fact that the only kind of person who will really help her mold that system of whatever she will experience, which she will experience in a foreign country, she will have to get to adapt, through different kind of mechanisms, and get kind of friends. Maybe she may not have many friends who look like her at all. So she has to stay in the house a lot, and maybe the mother definitely has to work a lot. And she will, I assume, if there were two parents, at least one will have more time with her when one parent is leave. So she feels quite isolated. She definitely feels quite isolated, because
yeah,
the only other part of family that she should have doesn't want to join.
yes. It's a vulnerable situation for the
Yeah,
child. Yes, also
absolutely.
because venturing into a new world, venturing into a landscape that we don't know, usually implies understanding the rules by which that environment works and the kind of boundary that you should set for yourself to not get in danger, right? And usually that's the role of the father, the archetype of the father, like the masculine energy. Uh, the mother can continue to nurture at home. She can definitely set certain boundaries in terms of, like, maybe how far from the house you can go or not. That usually the mother psyche defines a space of safety around the house. But obviously, if you're in a new country, you need to explore beyond the community and the first neighborhood, especially if you're an adolescent. That's a time when a lot of exploration normally happens. And in fact, that's a critical time of development where the role of the father comes in and becomes extremely important for the normal development of the child. So that's also to be remarked. Now, let's let us try to think of what might be. What if they had stayed in Kenya and they had stayed with an alcoholic father who continues to choose the bottle? I mean, that's a difficult situation as well. By the way, I will mention before we close this live that there is a lot of resources for friends and family of alcoholics, and therefore children and people who have lived with alcoholics. There is actually groups that meet online, several groups a week from all different parts of the world, And there is a website that can be reached where all of these meetings are listed, and people can join them for free. They're free groups to join. I've joined a few of them just for my educational purpose, and very, very, very effective conversations. So I'll give maybe more information either at the end of the live here or next time, perhaps. But so we need to also consider what would be the option of living with an alcoholic parent who is not really ready to move on from the addiction. What do you think? Is there a gain in a way in the situation?
I think from understanding the child's perspective, I can imagine how she will try to interpret it. Living with an alcoholic, I believe she will try and find some normalcy in it when you're young,
Right.
and you find that
Yeah.
this may be normal. This is how my father shows up,
Yeah.
that's
Good
how
point.
he is. Yeah,
Yeah.
and in the naivety of the child, she might find some normalcy in it, in that
Yes.
there is something. It's not ideal, but I don't know what ideal is, you know.
Yes.
Um, and and
And
and
particularly at the teenagers' years, you kind of, you don't really, you're trying to be accepted by your peers, so you don't really want to question that much the normalcy of your family environment. You really want to think of whatever you're going through as normal, because if it's not normal, your peers are going to start to bully you and reject you very easily, right?
mm,
So indeed, I very much agree with you on that point. Yeah. Yeah.
and I think, yeah, up until that adolescent stage is when she'll try and find some meaning into it, that this is not how you're supposed to, compared to when and also her needs at that moment. Maybe as a child, she may have some limited needs that she will feel that that works out for her, and that this is how my father shows up. But as a teenager, how she will need her identity to be emphasized and be molded, she will need a different kind of showing up by the parent. So I think that's something that really needs to be considered.
Yes. What about the mother? What do you think we can say in terms of empathy towards the mother?
I think the mother is one person who her love is very, I would say that she really is proactive. The fact that she was able to meet this man in an establishment where he normally would be an alcoholic, would be at a bar, and she's dancing at a bar. She's a dancer. Um, Meeting him in his own habitat, she would say, she would be assumed that, this is the kind of man you met. He was drinking. He was in this establishment. You expect him to be here. Why do you expect him to leave when you met him there? But the fact that we can have compassion in her, that she sees more for him that maybe he sees for himself, in that she got herself out of that position. And she's not a dancer in UK. She's doing something else. And she wants him to also do the same, whereby we met in this establishment, but it doesn't end there. We have
Yes,
more into this, We are
that's a
more
very good.
than just, yeah. Even though we met at this establishment, I assume that you will stay there, but I don't want you to stay there. I want you to do more out of your life. We met maybe as a customer, someone who is entertained, but now I see you as a partner. I see you as a co-parent. Now you can build this home together. So I think I can definitely empathize with her, seeing that she is proactive in seeing the value in this man even more than she sees in himself, even though he might want to stay in those confines that, you met me here, yeah, I want to stay here. This is my place of comfort. She wants to get him out of that. And I think we can really empathize with that kind of commitment.
Yeah, and courage for sure. Yeah, yeah. I think there is a lot of wisdom in the mother here in understanding that the environment is such a strong reinforcer for our behavior. If you want to change your habits and you don't change your environment, it's going to be much 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 harder. And particularly with addictions in general, the first most important step in breaking any habit of any kind is to abstain from engaging with that behavior. And so, of course, if your usual habit is to go and drink at the bar or the pub with friends after work every day, then you need to break that habit, right? So environment plays a major component in keeping our habits or allowing us to change our habits. And I think the preciousness of your comment here is also in that you point out the fact that this is a woman, a person who has understood her life as a dancer, as a moment, temporary phase of her life, and that she is on the go, right? She's maturing, she's moving, she's seeking, she's changing, she's adapting. Um, and so we see an attitude there towards life of growth, right? It's a growth oriented mindset, what we normally say a growth oriented mindset. And the husband has a fixed mindset, what we say is a mixed fixed mindset. So this sort of strong tendency to be very attached to one's comfort zone and to remain in that comfort zone. And indeed, I think, and this can happen beyond or besides the issue of alcohol. In a lot of couples, it often happens that one partner is much more growth oriented and the other partner has a fixed mindset. And yeah, and often that ends up being a real issue. Yeah, so we are coming to the end of the live today, but it's a beautiful story. Again, it just goes to show how by presenting a few elements of a story, we are creating a lot of opportunities for empathy and questions, right? We could have another live continuing to ask questions about, okay, how does the child feel about the attachment that the father has towards what is common and normal, in his life? How does the child sees his mother, who is very growth oriented, right? We can speculate. It would be complete speculation. But what this speculation does is that it offers us an opportunity to practice, first of all, the understanding of emotions, right? The expression of emotions. It practice empathy, which is a great exercise. So we always need to keep in mind that whatever we've been talking about here, it's mostly imaginative and speculative, but it's still a great exercise to engage with. Yeah, thank you for bringing this story up. It is definitely relevant to the aspect of having a parent who drinks or is addicted in the house. And yes, so if you are the child or the wife or the husband of a family member, a close family member who is alcoholic, you want to look online for Al-Anon, so A-L and then dash, I think, Anon, so A-N-O-N, Al-Anon Anonymous Meeting Groups. So Google this, you will come to a website, and if you scroll and look around that website, there is a link that will take you to a web page. Unfortunately, I don't have it handy here with me, where all these meetings that are going on all around the world of people who basically love an alcoholic, because there's so many reasons why we should love an alcoholic, and we cannot do anything but to love an alcoholic. And all of these people meet together to actually confront all the issues that arise from loving a person who has an addiction, right? It does affect, apparently, as I continue to immerse myself in these groups, it does affect people around, the person who is addicted really quite deeply and long term. So if you're listening to this, do yourself a big favor, go and see some of these groups, and you will see how life-changing the experience can be. Thank you, Rene, for sharing this story. I look forward to more of these stories in the upcoming lives. We missed the one last week, but generally speaking, we are here once a week. So thank you guys for watching. Thank you. I see that there is a viewer here with us. So thank you very much for being here with us. We hope to see you next week, and take care of yourself. Thank you, Rene. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Nicolas. Bye-bye.